Hello and welcome back to LAZ Unleashed. Following the trailer, which kind of gave you a very short little idea of what this channel is going to be about, I thought I'd do a little about me video for anyone who's interested to know, I don't know, why these topics and subjects are of interest to me. So start off, my name is Luke Lazarus Michaelides. Pleasure to meet you all. But I go by my middle name to most people, hence the name Laz. I'm a former professional musician. I trained at the Institute of Music in London for 3 years, and then I was a professional bass player for about 10 years. But unfortunately, some injuries and surgeries have rendered me as good as useless in the music world because you can't really play a bass with no arms. Um, Obviously, I've got arms, but they don't work entirely as they should. Um, Talking about the name of the channel, I thought it'd be a good place to start because when I was on tour, so I've toured the world with a couple of different acts, and my best friend and I we host a podcast called the Long Live Rock and Roll Podcast. So go and check it out if you like old classic albums being reviewed by two younger guys who generally weren't around when the album came out. And I also host a YouTube channel with my wife called Minds of Metal, where we focus on anything metal that we like. Laz Unleashed came about because I have quite a pedantic view on certain things. So we were in the tour van one day, and I remember we were listening Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin, and we were chatting about it, and we were like, oh, is it a perfect song? And I kind of thought, well, actually there's some things I changed. And then whenever we got to that part of the conversation in any of the tour van journeys, then they'd be like, all right, Laz Unleashed, because I'd give some maybe unpopular opinions, and you might even get some on this channel. In terms of movies and TV shows, I mean, I've always been really, just like most people, blown away by some movies. And I remember as a kid getting the full scope, when I would have been about 6 years old when my favourite movies, the Lord of the Rings movies, came out, and it just completely changed cinemas and movies for me. Prior to that, like most children, I only ever had some Disney films. But then on the other end of that, my dad, when I was quite young, showed me his favourite movie, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And now I've got this dynamic where I just love everything in between. I've got the fantasy Lord of the Rings, they're like my favourite all time movies. But then my second favourite movie, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And I just love the amount of difference you get between movies, even in that spectrum there. So movies and TV shows are always something I've been fascinated by. TV, I mean the same. I just love a TV show done well. It doesn't have to be edgiest action for the whole of it. Some of my favourites, True Detective, especially season one. That's almost perfect. Boardwalk Empire, The Sopranos, Band of Brothers, Masters of the Air, The Pacific, those kind of things. The Watchmen miniseries, Chernobyl. I think I said Breaking Bad already, Game of Thrones, all of those kind of stuff that's done really well. I'm into that. Lego and vinyl wise, I mean, the vinyls are pretty self explanatory. I've been a music fan for a long time. I spent most of my childhood listening to, I say childhood, teenagehood, listening to heavy metal and sort of exploring kind of emo, hard rock, heavy metal music. Then when I went to university, it sort of really broadened my mind and opened things up. I started really loving jazz and Motown and soul, really getting into the funk stuff as well. But generally, I mean, nowadays it's kind of come full circle because I'm still, and always will be, and always have been, an avid metalhead. But I love a lot of classical music as well. That's probably my secondary genre that I listen to. And then anything and everything in between, your rock, your classic rock. I do like quite a bit of hip hop as well. But I'm not really tied down to a genre. I definitely say I'm a metalhead, and then I like classical music second because I find those genres to relate to each other very well. I'm sure there's a video there somewhere. But yeah, honestly, I'll listen to anything as long as I like it. With the Lego, now I've only been interested in Lego for about a year and a half, and it's some of my gaming buddies. I went around theirs once, and I kind of always thought that Lego was for kids, which I think is the is the general consensus if you ask a random person on the street. But then I went around to my friend's house, and they showed me their Lego, and I was like, my God, like this is so cool. I didn't even realize some of the figures could be that big, and so it kind of threw me down the rabbit hole of yeah, the Lego rabbit hole where you just want everything and everything. With regards to Tolkien as well, it's the same thing as the movies. When the movies came out, I found myself connected to them. There was a lot of personal stuff going on in my life at that time, and again, the deeper this channel goes, maybe I'll reveal that eventually. But I found them as a true way of escapism. Just a real way to put the real world thoughts on hold and just escape into a world unlike any I'd ever seen. And once I watched the movies and became obsessed with them, then kind of the books followed after that. So I've read The Lord of the Rings a couple of times each. The Silmarillion, however, is my favourite, and I've proper studied that. You know, I've listened to podcasts, done annotations, written out a whole spreadsheet detailing the characters and the locations, because it's just so hard to grasp and get your head around the number of characters and the names they all have and the locations and everything. Um, yeah, now with the gaming, as you might have seen on the channel, there's loads of little clips of just stuff. You know, I don't claim to be an immaculate perfection gamer who can get 100% on everything and not get hit whilst he's playing in Call of Duty. I just love the thrill of it, and it's the same kind of thing as the Lord of the Rings and Tolkien stuff. It's a means of escape that just get to sort of be in a bit of a world where you're probably not. You know, unless I join the army, I'm not going to be running around with a gun in my hands anytime soon. So I'm not saying I want to either, but just like the movies, it's a nice little form of escape. So you're going to see little clips that I found fun, that I really enjoyed performing and playing, and I'm sure there'll be loads more to come in the future. I think that's nearly everything now. I mean, on to the sport wise. I started off as a football fan when I was, you know, pretty young, 5 years old, especially in the UK. The football mantra is you know, pushed into you quite early, because you got to pick a side. So my dad was always a Leeds fan, so I've got a soft spot for Leeds. But my uncle took me often to watch Tottenham at White Hart Lane, so I am a Spurs fan for my sins. And yeah, so that's the football side of it. MMA. Now I'm only recently into MMA. I mean, I say recently, but it was that fight, the one that everyone knows, the Conor McGregor versus Khabib and the Magomedov fight, that really got me into it. And I got to thank my stepbrother for that, who put on an event where we all went round and watched it. And again, it's just I thought, hold on, I thought football was good. For me, MMA is just the most, I don't know what word to use, perhaps authentic sport there is. Because when you think of sport, you think of competition and competing and humans competing against each other. Now, with things like Formula One and football, there are other elements involved. There's a ball, there's conditions, you know, like wind and stuff. With Formula One, it's the car. Whereas with MMA, I just find there is nothing in the way. It is just strength versus the strength of one human versus the strength of another human, and all their respective disciplines. You know, jiu-jitsu, karate, whatever. Put in a cage and told you've got to show you're stronger than the other person. I think Joe Rogan says that MMA is physical problem solving or something like that, which I think is the best way to describe it. You've just got to find a way to submit or defeat your opponent. And I know some people think it's barbaric, but again, these people choose to be in there. They've dedicated their lives to getting as good as they are now, and I can't help but support that, especially considering, by my definition, it is the greatest sport of them all. Now, rugby as well. I used to play rugby. Again, a few back injuries. I was a forward. I was a number one loose head. So really enjoy. I mean, I don't think I enjoy playing it as much as I enjoy the idea of playing it. I was always a little scared of getting hurt. And the idea of just, yeah, running into someone at full pelt for the sake of it didn't always sit well with me, but I was good at it. So I played for my school, I played for my town as well. And yeah, I really enjoy watching it, especially things like the Six Nations and the World Cup. When they come around, I find it really enjoyable. I get really committed into the schedule and into the festivities of it all. What else have I got? So yeah, Formula One again. Now I'm a victim of the Drive to Survive generation, if you like, where my best mate Felipe, who is the host of Long Live Rock and Roll with me, he's an avid Formula One fan and has been for decades. And we were on tour, and he was watching the first episode of Drive to Survive, and I was like, man, like, it's just cars going around the track, isn't it? Like, there can't be anything special about this. And there was, and then the first episode of Drive to Survive got me hooked. I suppose I didn't fully understand that these were the 20 best drivers in the world. I suppose I didn't understand how fast the cars were going. I suppose I didn't understand the pressure and the physical toll it takes on your body. Now, after being an F1 fan for a year and a half, myself, my wife, and some friends and family went go-karting. And all we did was go around a go-kart in Milton Keynes for half an hour. My wrists were screwed really, really hard. When you take those corners and your wrists at the end of it, and you get sweaty and you're hot and you get headaches from going around all the corners. I can't even begin to imagine. The other ones I can imagine. I can imagine being on a football field surrounded by 60,000 people screaming. I can imagine being on a rugby field and receiving the ball from your first kick. I can imagine being in an MMA fight and, you know, having your opponent ahead of you. I can't imagine going 200 miles an hour down a road, knowing that at some point I'm going to have to brake and turn and not knowing where to brake. I know this is why they're paid the big bucks, because they do know where to brake, but it's just something that I can't even fathom. So yeah, I think that's literally all of the topics that I've said in my trailer that gonna go through and talk about. The one thing I haven't spoken about is this guy, little Gimli, who's a little. He's asleep. But let's see if we can get him. There we go. He's a little British short hair that we got a couple of months ago. He's dead sweet. Yeah, really lovable, and he's obviously based on the name of one of my favourite Tolkien characters, Gimli, son of Gloin. So yeah, I'm sure he loves sleeping and just chilling with us. So I'm sure he'll appear in many videos. But yeah, thanks for viewing. This is me. And like I said, you know, with regards to these topics, you know, the movies and TV, I'm sure I'll be doing some reviews on my favourite shows and new movies. The music stuff as well. I mean, I do a music podcast and a music YouTube channel already, so I might kind of lay off the music a little bit. But I got loads of vinyls, and I'm always pre-ordering new vinyls, especially if they're sort of special editions. So I might do some vinyl unboxing. With the Lego, I've already got a video out that's like a Lego time-lapse build of the Harry Potter Dumbledore's office. So my only issue is I've got lots of Lego, but I've built them all already. So this really might be an excuse to deconstruct them all and rebuild them again, but with the camera on so you guys can see. The Tolkien stuff, I literally have no idea. Who knows? Eventually, I might do like a Silmarillion chapter by chapter analysis. I'm just doing things that I think I'd want to see on YouTube. So if there's one of me, there's got to be a few more of me. I mean, I've got 110 subscribers right now, I think. So and maybe there's at least 110 of you that are like me. If not, hopefully more, and hopefully they will subscribe. With the gaming, like I've said already, and like you've seen, there's just going to be little clips of fun gaming moments I had. And with the sport, I mean, there's a lot of opportunity here. I could do some sort of live watch-alongs, some reviews of matches and fights afterwards. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm just going to play this by ear. It's not taking it too seriously at the moment. Just a place to enjoy all the things I like and hopefully sharing it with other people that enjoy it as much as I do. So thank you for taking the time to watch. Take care. Make sure you subscribe to stay up with my content, and hopefully we'll see you very soon.